Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
It's a 1-point Kentucky lead, 74-73. Here's Wright. Crossover. Wright goes up. Got the shot blocked. Got it back. Throws it to Ward. Jumper at the buzzer for the win. It's good! LSU defeats Kentucky on a last-second put-up shot by Tyrell Ward. 75-74.
Welcome in! Hunt Palmer Show coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. It was a fun Wednesday night in the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. LSU beats Kentucky at the buzzer. Voice you heard there, of course, the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, and Final Four head coach John Brady, who was having himself some fun as well. Chris has some obligations here in an hour with baseball at the box, so he joins us now at the top of the show. Had some fun last night, did you, Mr. Blair?
Yeah, we did have fun. Coach Brady sounded like he was riding the world's fastest and tallest roller coaster there at the end. But, man, what an effort. I mean, you know, you look back on it. I watched a little bit of it after I got home last night just to go watch the game. And, you know, sometimes when you're calling the game, you're not able to absorb, you know, all the ebbs and flows and what it actually looked like in totality. And really, I got to tell you, for all but maybe 2 to 3 minutes in that game, I just was impressed with LSU's ability to be physical and really push Kentucky around quite a bit. And, you know, Hunt, you and I have talked a lot. The fact of the matter is this team, you're without Damian Collins, who you were expecting, the Kentucky transfer. He hasn't played an SEC game. You're without Carlos Stewart. He played half of an SEC game against Texas A&M to start the schedule. He's not been seen. Jalen Cooks missed the last 2 games. This is an LSU basketball team that has one way to win, and they have to follow that blueprint. They can't win games multiple ways. They have to do what they do effectively. And I thought outside of those 2 minutes to finish the first half, LSU did what exactly they needed to do to beat a super talented Kentucky team. I mean, I got to the arena last night. Coach Brady said, "Have you looked at this Kentucky team?" I said, "Yeah, got the research. I've done my prep." He goes, "How do they lose?" I'm looking at all these McDonald's All-Americans. I'm looking at these guys in double-figure scoring. But the one Achilles heel had been offensive rebounding. And, again, they won the battle, did the Cats in the first half. But then LSU just pulled away on the glass, on both the defensive and offensive glass in the second half. And just, Jordan Wright, man, 38 minutes of action last night. Trey Hannibal over 32 minutes, giving everything he's got, nearly out-rebounding everybody in blue and white for Kentucky. He's the smallest guy on the floor. It was just a great moment, and blessed to be there to witness it with my own eyes. What an atmosphere. What a win for Coach Matt McMahon. I think short-term sets up, nicely to back in the regular season. Maybe we get a chance to play some postseason, which would be fantastic. But I think long-term, Hunt, it's bigger what that win meant last night for the program.
Yeah, it's been a slow build, but it seems like they're really playing some good basketball right now. This is kind of a 2-part question here. One, why are they getting down 15 or 20, and what changes to allow them to get back in the game time and time again? And now they've gotten over the hump the last 2 times.
Well, it's like I told Coach McMahon last night in the post-game interview. I said, Coach, you open up the second half, they hit 2 3-pointers, you get down by 15, you got the Cats right where you want them. And you start the comeback effort. I think some of it is LSU at times gets caught into trying to run at the pace that, as I said earlier, they're just not built to run. You look at the 2 minutes last night, it's back and forth. I mean, we're a 24-24 ball game there, and you get 3 costly turnovers. Kentucky gets out and runs, and that's how they do when they're effective. I mean, that's how they blew Auburn out. They played better defense, I think, but they also got out and ran. They blew Vandy out of their own gym because they were up and down the floor in transition. They only had 8 fast break points last night. Yep. But to your point, you get down 15 in the opening moments. I think there's just these guys are giving everything they got. They're going 7, 8 guys off the bench, giving every ounce of sweat they have. I think sometimes there's just a little lack of focus. Maybe it's a little winded. and you have some careless mistakes. You know, there were some quick possessions by LSU, and Coach McMahon told me at shoot around the day of the game, look, we can't have that. Our best defense is going to be a patient and efficient offense. Because our guys know where to go rebound when we get the shot we're supposed to take. When we just come down and throw it up and it's a long shot and it's a long rebound, that plays into the teams like Kentucky and Alabama and Auburn. That's what they're feeding off of. So I think there was a little bit of that in the final 2 minutes, and suddenly you're down by 15. But I think they got back in focus. And, again, they got to that physical play that they used against South Carolina on Saturday. And, again, I think from a physicality standpoint, they dominated. Really, outside of those first two shots for Kentucky in the opening minute, Coach McMahon calls the timeout. Suddenly the focus is there. The attention to detail is there. And they got back to the game that, as I said earlier, and I will say continually, that's how LSU wins. It's a simple formula. They just got to stick to it.
The last play, the presence of mind of Jordan Wright after the shot gets blocked to catch it, look up, and get the ball back where it needed to be, and then the presence of mind of Tyrell Ward to be there and to make the finishing play. What did it look like from courtside?
Well, I mean, again, I think it was brilliant. I want to go back to Coach McMahon letting it play out, not calling the timeout after, again, Dillingham hits that silly shot that only a guy like Dillingham can hit from the corner. He doesn't call the timeout, which is a brilliant move because Kentucky, if they've got a weakness, it's been defensively. Now, they played better the last two games against Ole Miss and Auburn, but on the whole this year, they're not real interested in playing defense. But now Coach Calipari, even though I think Kentucky fans forget this, usually has a very good defensive team. Mm-hmm. And Coach McMahon thought in those moments, why let them use a timeout for him to really drill down and instruct them on what to do in the half court defensively? Maybe they'll go back to their old tendencies. Maybe they'll get out of position. And, you know, he trusts Jordan Wright. And Jordan Wright got his man beat off the dribble, which got him to the paint. And once he got to the paint, you had help defense from Thiero as well as Onyenson, who are two great rim protectors. And then it's just veteran play, man. A guy, as I said, 38 minutes of action. He got the shot block, got it back. There was nobody else there for Kentucky. They were kind of stunned that the ball landed in his lap. And at first I thought maybe he was attempting the shot as the ball went up in the air. And then Matt McMahon standing right in front of me. All I see is Coach's back. And then above his head, I see Tyrell Ward rise, catch the ball, and lay it up, goes through the net as the red light hits the glass. And, again, I just think it was fortuitous in the fact that Jordan played as hard as he did and went after, didn't give up on the play and kept the ball alive. But it's also a pretty good tip of the cap to Coach McMahon that he wanted to drive right at Kentucky and see if they would break down defensively. And frankly, they did.
Made it happen. Development's not something that a lot of programs focus on these days. You just go get the next senior transfer and plug them in and go play. But Tyrell Ward and Jalen Reed were in the first signing class that Matt McMahon had here. In the last two games, you've seen a lot of production from those two guys as they kind of come of age as sophomores. What have you seen from those two?
Yeah, I'm really proud of both of them because, last year you saw flashes from Jalen Reed, just not enough consistency, and that's going to happen with a true freshman. Tyrell Ward, I think, was a little undersized. I think at times was a little overwhelmed by the talent he was matched up, especially in conference play a year ago. Both of them transformed their bodies in the offseason, Hunt, as you've been able to see, and anybody can see if you look at them. And I think now they're coming into their own, and as John Brady says all the time, and he knows much better than I, that both Tyrell and Jalen now are understanding what their role is and where their strengths are. And Coach McMahon, part of the development is allowing them to go do the things they do best. And Jalen Reed last night was like a bulldozer. I mean, Kentucky's got length, but they don't have a lot of muscle. And the Tigers recognized it. They got Reed out on the wing, top of the key, and then he's got a great handle. He just drives them right to the rim. Started to finish more in the second half. Really had some great finishes. And then Tyrell Ward's just shooting the lights out. And I think confidence goes a long way with him. And, it's seeing him smile in Columbia, talking to him on the radio after the game, and visiting with him last night on the radio after the game. I think confidence is a big boost for him. And, again, those guys are playing great. And, we had a great conversation with Tyrell last night about being patient and waiting for your opportunity and developing. And he said, I concur with everything you said. I've waited my time, and I'm enjoying the benefits I'm reaping right now. So that's a good sign in this day and age where guys want to go quickly and get what they want when they want it.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time with these guys on the road in post-game interviews like that. Tyrell, Jalen Reed were here last year. Trey Hannibal was here last year, and Mwani was here. That's a tough go of it. What do you think this means to those guys to kind of feel like you might be turning a bit of a corner?
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, Trey Hannibal loves the three letters LSU. He just does. I mean, he I think of him being here only 2 years. He started in South Carolina, followed, again, went to Murray State with Coach McMahon, then followed him here to Baton Rouge. But he loves wearing the purple and gold, man, and it means something to him. And, you see him in the huddle during games. I see him at shoot-around and at practice, being vocal, being one of those leaders. And, frankly, he understands that he has a ceiling when it comes to offensive scoring. But he can do so many other things to help the team, and he's really been the straw stirring the drink for this team over the last couple of ball games. And, I think that's the foundation. And you hear people talk a lot, and I've heard Matt say this several times. This is still year one. This is still a rebuilding process. And I think they turned a major corner, not only last night, but this season with the adversity they've faced. And these guys keep coming back for more. They keep swinging night in and night out. And that's why I'm proud of this team, and I'm sure Tiger fans are as well. It's not the wins and losses. Those numbers aren't where you want it to be. Certainly everybody understands that. But it's not from a lack of putting everything they've got into it and putting wins and losses behind them quickly, which when you're going through a stretch like they did over the last 7, 8, 9 games, that's important. And, again, you can preach it all day long, but when you live it, to me, that means there's progress underway.
If you ask my opinion, the good Lord made weather days like today for the first tee box and the first pitch. First pitch coming up at Ally Box Stadium in 50 minutes. Gage Jump on the mound. Excited to get your first look at him?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jay has told me going back to the fall that, this is a guy that's going to be a dude here at LSU. And so didn't get to see him in the quick outing over the weekend. But, Jay said we're taking it slow, but we certainly want to give him the opportunity to get a start. And here we get it in the first game of the second weekend. And excited to see what he has to do because he's got a great name, he's got a great arm, should be a great career for the Tigers.
Was Doug able to punch out of the old 9 to 5 and get to the press box for today?
Oh yeah, he's when you're a high level executive, you can do all that stuff. So yeah, we're all set and ready to go.
Awesome. We'll be we won't be listening for the first few innings, but we'll be there very shortly. Have a good call, Chris. Thanks.
Thanks, son.
Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers. He's at Ally Box Stadium. It'll be LSU. Coming up in 45 minutes or so against Northern Illinois, the Huskies. So I'll get you ready for that one here. Coming up, lineups are posted, and I'll give you my thoughts on what we would like to see from LSU. We want to talk a little bit of baseball before they start playing baseball, and then you'll probably be watching that, and we'll shift gear to Saints and some other things in hour number 2. I still got to give my thoughts on LSU and Kentucky as well. Joe Healy from the SEC Extra Team, part of D1 Baseball, is going to be with us about 1:30. He's got some flight issues, supposed to land right about now, so we'll see if we can get to him at 1:30. We've got some other things we can chat about if we need to bump him back a little bit. Luke Johnson's going to be with us at 2 o'clock talking some Saints. Nick Saban is trying to change some things in college football now that he's away from college football. I've got some thoughts on that as well. Our Thursday shows always brought to you by Rouse's Markets, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Invite you to download that Rouse's app and make sure shopping so much easier. Take a time out when we come back. LSU baseball lineups. I'll get you ready for Tigers and Huskies coming up next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Value Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $17,500 off new 23 1500 Bitcoin trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $17,500 off new Ram 1500 trucks. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
Join MMR and ignite your career today. MMR is the largest electrical and instrumentation contractor in the nation, and they're seeking talented individuals to join their team. For over 3 decades, they've been headquartered right here in Baton Rouge, and they have offices all around the globe.
And MMR offers a tailored path for both professional and personal development. outstanding benefits, and a dynamic culture. So whether you're an intern, a seasoned pro, or you're just starting out, see what MMR can offer you. Apply at mmrgrp.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly...
Up on Friday's OTB, we recap a ton of Thursday night sports. Pelicans, LSU baseball, LSU softball, LSU women's basketball. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Big win for LSU basketball last night. We'll talk a little bit more about it as we move forward. Thanks to Chris Blair for making a little bit of time for us at the top of the show before he and Doug Thompson hit the airwaves here in 12 minutes for LSU and Northern Illinois from the box. Another one of these midweek afternoon games, which are not great for the Hunt Palmer Show nor AFR, but Jay Johnson thinks they're good for LSU baseball, so we'll allow it. They've got some jewelry. They can back up their decision-making from June. Lineups are out, but I want to tell you a little bit about Northern Illinois first, if you're headed out to the box or planning on watching. I don't know a ton about Northern Illinois, but I know a little bit, and the little bit that I know is not very impressive. Last year, this Northern Illinois team was 10-43. They were 5-24 in the MAC. That's not great, obviously. They opened the season in Abilene, Texas over the weekend and played Abilene Christian 4 games. They lost the first one 16-6 in a run rule in 7 innings. They lost the second one 12-2 in a run rule in 8 innings. They lost the third one at 10-4, and then did win the final game 14-7. But look, they gave up a bajillion runs, 45 of them in 4 games. Lost that series 45-16 and 3-1 in terms of the games. They come in with a team ERA of 10.98. Abilene Christian hit .365 against Husky pitching. Look, they pitched 30 1/3 innings over the weekend, 28 walks in 30 1/3 innings. Their 4 starters threw 15 2/3 innings over the weekend. In those 15 2/3 innings, 19 hits, 11 walks, and 18 earned runs to go with the 19 strikeouts. So they got knocked all over the yard against Abilene Christian, and I would anticipate more of the same today. LSU's offense really showed up on Friday and on Sunday last week, not as much on Saturday, which is a really tough day to hit, and not as much on Monday, but the bullpen bailed them out and got them the win. We'll see what LSU can do today. The lineup is out. Paxton Kling is going to lead off and play center field. You'll have Jake Brown in right field in the 2-hole. Tommy White's going to play third and hit third. Travinski's the DH. He will hit cleanup. Jared Jones is in the 5-hole and playing first. Josh Pearson will play second base and hit sixth. Ethan Fry is going to play left field today and hit in the 7-hole. Michael Braswell's the shortstop, hitting 8th, and Alex Milazzo will catch Gage Jump and hit 9th. So a few things there. Kling back in the leadoff spot. Day off for a couple of guys. Mac Bingham is not going to start this game, and you're also not going to see monster Stephen Milam in the lineup today. I think that's people are going to go, what? He's not playing. Trust me, they're just going to get some guys at bats, or there are 4 games to play this weekend. Keep in mind, Milam did not play on Friday last week, but did still have a big weekend. So they're going to rotate what Jay said was like 5 guys. And if you're going to throw Ethan Fry in there, which he is today, that tells you the guys they're rotating. They're rotating Milam and Pearson, kind of alternating at second base. You're going to see some of Jake Brown in right or in center. You're going to see Paxton Kling in center, or maybe with the day off. Mac Bingham going to play left or have the day off. You could see, obviously, Ethan Fry in left field or right field. I like the idea of getting Ethan Fry some at-bats. He hasn't gotten many at-bats in his year plus at LSU, year and a weekend, I guess. But he's a guy that the staff is really, really high on. You've heard Jay Johnson in media sessions say that Ethan Fry could be an All-American at LSU. He's certainly got the size and the bat speed to do it. It's just a matter of getting in the lineup. And there just weren't any opportunities for him to get in the lineup last year. You look at a lineup last year that squeezed Jared Jones and his 16 home runs out, that squeezed Paxton Kling out of the lineup. It was hard for Hayden Travinski to get in there last year. Gavin Dugas had to have an injury get him into the lineup in the first weekend of the season, and he never relinquished those duties. So it was just hard to get in, and it's going to be hard to get in on this team as well. But while they've got as many games as they do, this is 8 games in the first 10 days of the season, they're going to get some other guys some opportunities. So good to see Ethan Fry out there. I'm still curious about Josh Pearson's defense at second base. My preseason projection was that he would start more games in the outfield than the infield. This evens that up. It'll be 2-2. I'd just like to see him play second base on defense. I just haven't seen that in the preseason scrimmages back in the fall or in the first real weekend. He got a couple of balls, but not as much work as I'd like to see. Haven't seen him make any real tough chances, turn a bunch of double plays. I'm just curious how that looks. And then I hope that Paxton Kling kind of gets rolling a little bit in that leadoff spot. He's got Brown, White, and Travinski behind him. This is not a good Northern Illinois pitching staff, as we covered. Paxton Kling needs to get things rolling. I'm not going to essentially draw any conclusions whatsoever from the first 4 games of the season. I know that's a fun thing to do. I know it's fun to react to that and go, oh my gosh, Milam is a superstar. He's going to be an All-American. Jake Brown's a phenom. And it's fun to do those type of things, but it's probably a little bit premature. In fact, it's definitely premature. It's so early. This competition is not elite that LSU is playing, but I'd like to get Paxton Kling rolling because the upside there is so big. And he had a couple of hits. He had a really nice swing of the bat down the left field line in Friday's game that was a big hit in a game where LSU needed all the offense they could muster. But I like him at leadoff. I hope he gets some fastballs and can find a way to get things moving in the right direction offensively. And then the biggest story probably of the game today is Gage Jump and just what you get from him. Jay did not put a pitch count on him in the media session, but Gage Jump met with the media after Jay Johnson yesterday and said, yeah, I'm thinking 45, 50 pitches. So hopefully 45, 50 pitches gets you through 3 innings, one time through the order. And I don't have any reason to doubt how electric his stuff's going to be because it was awesome on Friday of last week. It was 94-95, 2 different breaking balls. He was fantastic in that 1 inning. Question is, that's 11 pitches. What does it look like on pitch 42? What does it look like on pitch 47? I don't know if there's anything whatsoever that's hampering Gage Jump at this point. It's all just kind of guesses from us that were paying attention at the end of preseason practice and didn't see Gage Jump a lot. And we didn't really know why. And you're not going to learn why because we know how Jay Johnson handles injuries. He's just not going to let you in that door. So we won't know. All we can do is just watch what we see. And what we saw is a guy that looked very healthy for 11 pitches. Excited to see him get out there and go ahead with 50. And so Northern Illinois is not very good. Their batting average over the weekend was like 236 against Abilene Christian. It's not a very good team. So hopefully he goes out there and goes through the order once and is electric as we think he can be. I believe very strongly that Gage Jump is going to be in LSU's weekend rotation sooner rather than later. I would hope that is in Starkville. But I just don't know why he seems to be coming on a little bit more slowly than the rest of the guys on the staff. I guess that's just something we'll have to watch today and then listen afterward to see what happens with him. I think everything's probably on the up and up since he is pitching again. So I'm really excited to see him because he could be a dude for this LSU team. And when you think about what this team needs to revolve around, it needs to be a really strong starting rotation and a bullpen that backs him up. So you saw a lot of that over the weekend. I'm excited to see a little bit more of it coming up today. For those that don't realize and didn't know it was just a one-week thing, LSU's playing all these early season midweek games, meaning Fridays, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock. In this case, it's at 2 o'clock. So a lot of folks probably headed over to the box right now. Chris Blair and Doug Thompson about to fire up the call over at Eagle 98.1 in about 5 minutes. You can, of course, watch on SEC Network Plus, and you can listen to us at the same time. But that's kind of a table setter for the weekend. I don't know much about Stony Brook other than Travis Jankowski played for him 12 years ago and just retired from Major League Baseball. And he was very good, but I don't know anything about this year's Stony Brook team, so we'll find out a little bit more about that on tomorrow's show. So LSU and Northern Illinois coming up in 35 minutes from right now. Just got a text from Joe Healy. He says on the ground, no way I'll be off the plane in 5 minutes. Got it open in a later segment. So we'll get Joe Healy involved here in about 15, 20 minutes. What I'll do next is give you my thoughts on LSU and Kentucky. What a night we saw in the PMAC last night. My thoughts on that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your +1 park system in the nation.
Bayou Ford has new 23 Ford F-150 STX trucks for only $39,995. $39,995 plus 1.9% financing for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Practices. At Progressive, we love sports and saving you money, so we bundled them together.
Top of the 7th looks like a pitching change as they've set up for a corner kick. The two black belts have entered the mat, and the slider is low and away. He heads the ball to midfield. This is quite a kumite. Here comes the roundhouse. Has it got enough gas to get out of here? Unbelievable! They've bundled their home and auto insurance with Progressive. Kick savings pitch karate.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Off the Bench with Jacob Hester and T-Bob Hebert. Mornings from 7 to 10 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. 5 brands on one lot. Shop BayouAutomotive.com.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. We're recapping LSU, Kentucky, getting you set for the women's home game against Auburn, and a little LSU baseball out at the box. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Chat with Joe Healy from D1 Baseball's SEC Extra team coming up here in about 10-12 minutes. But I want to recap LSU and Kentucky last night. Such an awesome night in the PMAC. I wouldn't call it the biggest crowd I've ever seen. There was plenty of seating available in the upper sections, but the lower bowl was pretty well filled in, and I'm sure it looked really good on television. I took my seat and grabbed a beverage and was settling in to watch the game, and I looked down, and there's Jacob Beck walking in. Like, oh, there's Beck. I didn't know he was coming to the game. And then I proceed to watch him sit on the front row. You want to explain yourself?
Yeah, I have a buddy. His grandfather has had those tickets for a long time, and thankfully for me, it was an 8 o'clock tip, so Grandpa was not going to stay up for the nightcap.
Not the early bird special.
Not early enough. So thankfully, I got
the call.
I got the call. Yeah.
Always love to know a guy. I love knowing a guy.
You have
I
to.
know a few guys. You got to know a guy. I'm certainly not a guy, so it's good to know a guy. That's a beautiful thing, and it was a great game to watch there from the front row. I wouldn't know, but I was there a few rows above. You were in front of Dale Brown. You've obviously accomplished more in that building than he has. So yeah, it was a great night for LSU basketball. Kentucky started the game up 4-0, and from that point forward, neither team led by more than 3 points until there were a minute and a half left in the first half. It was back and forth the entire time. There was a point there where I was looking at it going, this is a little bit too quick for my liking. There's a lot of shots going up, and at this pace, it's one of those things that you saw it against Alabama, you saw it against Tennessee. Like, I just don't know that LSU can keep up. And then Kentucky hit that flamethrower with a minute and a half to go in the first half. They closed on a 10-0 run over the span of about 95 seconds, and all of a sudden you look up and you're down by 9 points. And that felt really deflating. LSU finished the first half 2 of its last 12 shooting in the first half, and we know that Kentucky got really hot. And it felt like LSU had played well enough to be in a better situation than down 9 at the half. But you understand that LSU has made some second half rallies. So you didn't feel like you were out of the game. And then come out in the second half and bang, bang, Kentucky hits back-to-back threes to push it to 15. And I got a lot of kudos for my prediction on the score yesterday, which was a 1-point LSU win in the mid-70s. I think it was 78-77 or something, and it was basically almost exactly the score.
Yeah, you said 78-77.
And it was 75-74, so yeah, pat on the back there. But I also said very clearly yesterday, you cannot get down to this team by 15 or 20 points. They will run away. So I didn't get them all right, and that one was definitely wrong, because I felt like once Kentucky got a 15-point lead, they just weren't going to miss enough shots for LSU to make that push. But I was dead wrong, because Fountain hit a dunk, and then Ward hit a 3, and then Wright hit a 3, and then Wright hit another 3 on top of it for an 11-0 run. In a minute and 19 seconds, LSU went on an 11-0, and that's when the building really woke up for the first time. And it was a decent crowd and environment in the first half, but you blitzed them on an 11-0 run. The building really woke up, and LSU was only down 2. After that, Kentucky only led for 31 seconds of game time. So LSU was in the lead most of the second half. And LSU got contributions from so many guys late in the game. Mike Williams hit a huge 3 with 4 minutes and 17 seconds to go in the game. Jalen Reed hit that driving layup with 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go in the game, which was a huge score. Baker's 3 was massive to give LSU a 3-point lead. You saw the last second play with the awareness of Jordan Wright and the ability of Tyrell Ward to get involved in the play and make a heads-up play and then finish it at the rim to get it done. You look at Trey Hannibal's stat line for the game. I mentioned him, I thought would be a huge key in this game for LSU. And it wasn't necessarily him doing a ton of driving and scoring, although he did do a little bit of that. He only scored 7 points, but he pulled down 8 rebounds, and he had 7 assists without a turnover. That's exactly what LSU had to have from him off the bounce and distributing. We talked about the 2 stats Kentucky's defense allows the most. It's free throws and then assists. They allow a lot of assists, and that's because they get beat off the dribble a good bit, and that was the case with Trey Hannibal, finding his guys, and they were knocking down shots. 7 assists and no turnovers, exactly what LSU needed from Trey Hannibal. So I thought it was a great job by everyone across the board. I got asked this morning, if they don't make that play at the end, does McMahon get heat for not calling timeout at the end? And he wouldn't have from me, because if you're playing Virginia, I might need to draw something up to deal with that pack line defense and find a shot. You're playing Kentucky, who's in the 200s in defense. I want as much chaos out there as I can have with a bunch of freshmen on the floor for Kentucky. And that's what they created, right? They flattened it out, and Jordan Wright's not the quickest guy, but you saw him get to the rim against South Carolina for a huge bucket, and this time he got to the rim, and it got rejected because Kentucky blocks a lot of shots. They've got a lot of size. But he was heads up. He's a veteran. He's old. And I can't help but think that these comebacks that LSU is staging have a little bit to do with Trey Hannibal being a fifth-year player and Will Baker being a fifth-year player and Jordan Wright being a fifth-year player. And a lot of the guys they have on the floor are really old. And I just don't think they get overly rattled, even if they're on the road or playing Kentucky, with being down 15. And they continue to play and they continue to fight, and they did enough to make it happen. So I thought it was the right play by Matt McMahon not to call a timeout and just to try to get to the rim. They were fortunate there. There's no question about it, but I thought it was the right play. You were down there close to the action. What did you see?
Yeah, it was whenever Wright went in the lane and tossed it up and got blocked. I first thought, okay, that's kind of crazy they didn't call a foul, because they were calling a lot of fouls that game. I think both teams were in the bonus by there was like 8.5 minutes left. Yeah, I clocked that, and so that was surprising to me. But then then he throws it up and Ward catches it, and my buddy sitting next to me, like he lays it in, and the buzzer goes off, and he's like, he didn't even react. It's like it was such a blur that it all happens. Like we're right there, and I like look over, I grab him, start shaking him, like, dude, did you see that? And he's like didn't even process because it just happened so fast. But man, that's definitely the other than I remember whenever I was younger, we went to an LSU game. It was I think it was Johnny Jones era, and they went to like 3 overtimes. I can't remember if it was like Alabama. I don't know if you remember that game, but they went to like 3 overtimes. And that was an awesome game. But this
Texas Tech went to a couple overtimes, and then Georgia, there was a game that went. It
might have been Georgia, yeah. But yeah, this game is definitely the best game I've ever been to. In the
last buzzer beater in the PMAC was Skylar Mays against Mississippi State from the left wing, and this one was every bit that dramatic. To me, one of the things, because people want to talk about what this means for the program and moving forward. And I've been pretty adamant about this. Like, I can't tell you, because I can't with any confidence name one player that's going to be on the team next year. You just cannot do that in this sport. But I can tell you this, that Jalen Reed and Tyrell Ward came to campus raw as could be. They were highly rated because they have great size and length, and they can do some things at that size that is not necessarily all that common. But Tyrell Ward did not really know how to play basketball, couldn't really do anything but spot up and shoot, wasn't very good on defense, couldn't attack the rim at all. He was kind of a one-trick pony, he could shoot it. And Jalen Reed last year did a ton of driving, but in the course of driving, he was either turning it over or not finishing at the rim. And those guys, a year and a half into their time in Baton Rouge under Matt McMahon, have improved drastically. And they're coming of age. Tyrell Ward is now the best shooter percentage-wise in the Southeastern Conference in league games. He's shooting over 50% from three-point range in league play. He was 3 of 4 last night from deep. And he's actually doing some things off the dribble and finding some guys and playing in transition. He's really gotten a lot better. Jalen Reed is now finishing those plays that he was making last year where he was either turning it over or not finishing. And that's an encouraging thing. I don't know what players are going to be on the team next year. I hope Tyrell Ward and Jalen Reed are on this team next year. But, you just never know. But I can tell you this. Matt McMahon is doing a good job. The players are getting better. The team is playing better. They're finishing games late. The decision-making, I think, is sound, and he's putting guys in position to execute. The record is not awesome this year. I didn't think that it would be. And we're talking about a razor's edge there. If Jordan Wright misses the layup in South Carolina, or the 3 goes in at the buzzer, or they don't make that shot last night, all of a sudden you're talking about a 7-game losing streak. Like, that's how razor sharp these margins are, where we could be talking about a 7-game losing streak. We are now talking about, is the program turning a corner? And it's that fine. But I'll tell you that Matt McMahon is coaching this team well. That's not going to be enough in the long haul to accomplish what is expected at LSU across all sports. The name of this game is roster management, whether it's recruiting high school players or transfer portal guys, and that's ultimately what's going to decide what this basketball program is and will be. But I can tell you with this team that he has put together that is limited. There is not an NBA player on this team, I don't think. And they're getting better. They're playing better. They are worlds ahead of where they were against Texas and Syracuse. And it's the same guys, because Jalen Cook's not playing the last 2 weeks. So it's the same guys. They're just better. And to me, that means a lot. Now, you're not going to have Jordan Wright next year, and you're not going to have Trey Hannibal next year, and you're not going to have Will Baker next year. Like, those guys are out of eligibility. So you've got to continue to restock the shelves. That's the name of this game, as we said. And sometimes you knock it out of the park, like Arkansas did last year, and sometimes you completely whiff, like Arkansas did this year. It's hard to quantify that and have any sort of confidence with what you're going to say about next year's team sitting here today. But what I can say unequivocally, in my opinion, is that Matt McMahon's doing a very good job with this roster. And we can talk NCAA tournament and stuff later on in hour number 2 if we want to. But that's the thing that encourages me. And I hope the way this thing works, because I've been around here long enough now to know, half my life I've lived in Baton Rouge and been going to LSU basketball games. You got to win, and then they'll come.
Yeah.
And it helps if you win at home, because then they want to go back. Winning on the road's great, but that doesn't create the experience like last night did. I think they'll have a great crowd on Saturday night.
Absolutely,
I think they will have a better crowd Saturday night for Mississippi State than they will for Kentucky last night. And the question is, do they go out and perform? It's a tough league. Kentucky had the win of the year on Saturday against Auburn and fell flat on the road against LSU. LSU's got to continue to build on that and get a win on Saturday. But I think me and Beck had a blast last night inside the PMAC, and I think that'll get a few people back on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to that. I still don't think I'll be able to go. I planted the seed with my dad last night. I called him after the game, and he was like, I don't think that's going to happen, because we've got a lot of moving to do over the next 72 hours. But by 7:30 on Saturday, maybe
you should be
maybe we could have some things put to bed. And
maybe you're getting dinner or something before that or after.
It's not my call. It's the wife's call, and if it's going to make her very, very upset, we will stay home. And I don't even think I'm going to have a TV that functions at that point, so that'll be a bit of an issue. May have to go somewhere, but either way, we're going to figure something out. I hope to be at the game. LSU and Northern Illinois from the box coming up in 15 minutes. I want to get a look at last weekend in the SEC in baseball, as well as what we're looking forward to this weekend. Joe Healy joins us every single Thursday. He has landed. He is ready to roll, so we'll go to him with the SEC Extra Team coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Give our friends at Boudreaux's Electric a call. Give yourself the peace of mind that comes with having a home standby generator. Power goes out here for freezes like it did in January. We've got those summer storms that can come through and cause a ruckus in about 20 minutes. And we know that hurricanes are always around the corner. You can give yourself the peace of mind of knowing that your power is not going to go out. Whether you're working at home, whether you just want the comfort of the air conditioning or the television, Boudreaux's Electric can help you with that. They're a certified Generac dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer. And every single generator that they sell you comes with a 7 or 10-year warranty based on the kind of generator that you purchase from Boudreaux's Electric. They got a location in Napoleonville, also got a location over in Gonzales. Give them a call or head over to the website. That's our friends at Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends April 30th, 2024.
Value Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $17,500 off new 23 1500 Bighorn trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $17,500 off new Ram 1500 trucks. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
On Friday's OTB, we recap a ton of Thursday night sports. Pelicans, LSU baseball, LSU softball, LSU women's basketball. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here, I got Joe Healy from D1 Baseball, part of the SEC Extra team for all your SEC baseball content. You can find it there on D1. You can find him here every single Thursday. Joins us from the airport. Joe, thanks for the time. How are you?
Doing pretty well. You know, if an airline delay is the worst thing that happened to me today, I think I'll be doing all right. Life is still good.
That's good to hear. I'll be direct because we're a little short on time here, but from the opening weekend, I listened to Highway to Hoover, and y'all were talking about how it's kind of an uneventful weekend in the SEC, and that's a good thing. But Ole Miss had not kind of completed a little bit of a collapse out there in Hawaii, and they didn't look great yesterday in a midweek loss. It's so early, but any concern in Oxford?
A little bit, yeah, because this is kind of the second year that early in the season that it's pretty obvious from the jump that the pitching is just not quite what they were hoping for. Their individual bright spots. Mason Nichols has looked good. They've gotten some good bullpen performances. Everybody's been healthy, I guess, except for Xavier Rivas, who lost before the season. But But this is the second year in a row, like from the jump, that group has just not looked like what they were hoping for it to look like. And it's been compounded this year by the fact that, the offense, as I'm looking at it now, is hitting 181 on the year. And, maybe Hawaii's good. I don't know. But that should not be a team that shuts down the Ole Miss offense to the extent that it did.
No, I would completely agree with that. Looking forward to this weekend. Arkansas is headed to Arlington to play Oregon State, Oklahoma State, and Michigan. They did drop a game last weekend, but I think in that game you got a pretty good start from Mason Molina. Your thought on the Hogs early?
Yeah, that's one actually. It's funny enough where I said maybe Hawaii's good. I think James Madison might actually be good. They beat Virginia Tech yesterday, so that might actually be one where we look back in June and we're like, oh, actually, that was a pretty good team they played. Now, that being said, there were things you could nitpick with Arkansas, and it just goes to show that opening weekend can really be like an ink blot test for whatever you want it to be, where, we can sit here and nitpick the fact that Hagen Smith didn't look very good. We can nitpick the fact that, well, they didn't really get into their pitching depth necessarily. Like we didn't see like everybody we thought we might see necessarily. And then, offensively, they're still looking for maybe like a leader to emerge there. But by and large, like I think they handled their business all right. The reality of the situation is, I think I've said it on your air before, is that this Arkansas lineup is going to be one where they're going to need 6-7 guys to be productive, because there's not necessarily a guy here that you look at as the guy that the entire offense revolves around. And unless that guy emerges, it's just going to have to be a lineup that, their 6-hitter is as good as their 3-hitter ultimately. And you're just going to have to hope that's going to be enough. And because it's Arkansas, I'm going to assume it's going to be enough. But man, it's a whole different neighborhood they're moving into this weekend. But the game against Oregon State tomorrow night is the best game we've had in college baseball so far this year on paper.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that one plays out. Auburn's in Jacksonville. I believe you are in Jacksonville as well. And I think they're going to see Brody Brecht tomorrow. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, Brody Brecht. Maybe the strongest arm in college baseball. Not anywhere close to the best pitcher in college baseball. His thing is that he has a lot of outings where he'll go, 4 to third inning and give up 1 hit and no runs, and he walked 6 guys, and he just worked his way out of it because he struck out, 11 or whatever. Like, that's just kind of his deal. And his fastball touches 100, 101 miles an hour, but his command of his slider is actually better than his fastball. Like, he's not a fastball dominant guy. In fact, in his start last weekend, he threw more sliders than fastballs. That's just kind of a weird way that he approaches it, but it should be a good test for Auburn early in the season. And last week for Auburn, look, opponent was what it was, Eastern Kentucky, but everything you would have wanted to see from Auburn last weekend happened, right? They looked good on the mound. Joseph Gonzalez looked healthy. Carson Myers, the UAB transfer, took care of business. There really wasn't, and they hit the ball well. Ike Irish looks excellent as we expected. So I'm not really sure there's a box that they didn't check last weekend, but we'll see how it turns out this weekend.
Yeah, LSU saw Brecht last year in Round Rock, and he did not throw many strikes at all. He missed a lot of bats, but he did not throw many strikes at all. I do want to bring things back to LSU here as we get ready to let you go. What if I told you that Luke Holman became LSU's ace? Would that be a positive thing?
I think so, because I think that would probably, if you made me guess, say less about everyone else and just more that he's really, really good. I think you and I talked last week about how maybe he's a little bit overlooked, and you talk to some coaches who say like he actually may be one of the handful of the best pitchers in the country. Now, I don't know that I would go that far necessarily, but is he good enough to be a legitimate ace here for LSU and keep them in every Friday or every whatever day he pitches of the week? Yeah, I think he absolutely can be that guy, and I don't think it has to say something negative about the rest of the staff.
I don't either. Thatcher Hurd wasn't great in his, it was really one spot. He got through 8 outs pretty well, and then he couldn't get the 9th one. But we'll see him tomorrow. Any concerns with him?
No, I'd like to see a little more. Am I raising an eyebrow a little bit and saying, okay, are we going to see the guy we saw last regular season kind of early in the season, or is this an extension of what we saw in the postseason? He was a better pitcher. That's TBD, and that's kind of what I'm looking for the next few weeks. We can have a different conversation at this time next week if he kind of struggles again to get into the game a little bit, because against this competition, you would want to see him, go through these lineups pretty, I don't want to say easily, but pretty routinely anyway.
Joe, enjoy the baseball this week, and we'll be listening to Highway to Hoover, checking you out on D1 Baseball's SEC Extra coverage, and we'll hear from you next Thursday.
All right, Tom. Appreciate you, buddy.
He's Joe Healy over in Jacksonville, Florida. He'll be watching Auburn and Iowa coming up tomorrow. If you don't recall, when LSU played in that tournament last year in Round Rock, as I mentioned, you saw Brody Brecht, who throws 100. Remember, he was the former wide receiver for Iowa. He's got the strongest arm in college baseball. And he had a real issue throwing fastballs for a strike against LSU last year, and that's kind of in the MO. But he's going to be a first-round pick because of the arm strength and the talent, and Auburn will get a look at him coming up tomorrow. The other thing that interested me with Auburn last week is Joseph Gonzalez returned to their rotation after missing an entire year. Pitched one game last year and then was out the rest of the season. He's kind of a bit of a dying breed. He's a sinker slider guy. Everybody else is power, four-seam fastball, spin rate, and he is a sinker slider guy that has been a good pitcher for them over his career at Auburn. He was good last week, and we'll see kind of how he eases back into things. We appreciate Joe for making a little time from us here in the Jacksonville airport. That'll do it for hour number one. If you missed any of hour number one, Chris Blair, Joe Healy, my thoughts on LSU Kentucky, you can listen to it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, wherever you find your sound, you can find us. Appreciate you subscribing to our channel, the 1045 ESPN channel. Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints. Speaking of those New Orleans Saints, Luke Johnson covers them, and he's going to be with us coming at the top of hour number two. Still got to talk LSU basketball, potential tournament team, and LSU baseball is about to fire up. We'll keep you updated on that as well. So we'll step aside for Sports Center. Our Thursday shows are brought to you by Rouse's Markets. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Join MMR and ignite your career today. MMR is the largest electrical and instrumentation contractor in the nation, and they're seeking talented individuals to join their team. For over 3 decades, they've been headquartered right here in Baton Rouge, and they have offices all around the globe.
And MMR offers a tailored path for both professional and personal development, outstanding benefits, and a dynamic culture. So whether you're an intern, a seasoned pro, or you're just starting out, see what MMR can offer you. Apply at mmrgrp.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Bayou Ford has new 23 Ford F-150 STX trucks for only $39,995. $39,995 plus 1.9% financing for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The All-Star break is over. The NBA is back to work tonight with 12 games, including the Lakers and Warriors in San Francisco. No LeBron James for the Lakers. He's out with a left ankle injury. Also tonight, the Mavericks host the Suns in Dallas. ESPN's Tim Legler believes the Mavericks could make a run down the stretch.
They're really going to open some eyes, I think, here.
Really?
Last 25 games. Yes, Dallas looks scary to me. With those two acquisitions were not talked about trading deadline, right? Gafford and P.J. Washington. They now can go the entire game with a legitimate 6'10 and up athletic big with Lively or Gafford.
Tim Legler on Unsportsmanlike. Texas Longhorns coach Steve Sarkisian gets a raise from the Board of Regents. He'll be paid $10.3 million this year, and his contract extension now runs through the 2030 season. Mets right-hander Kodai Senga will likely start the new season on the injured list with a moderate shoulder strain. Senga went 12-7 during his rookie season last year.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Canty, coming up Friday. I'll tell you why the Patriots not picking a quarterback with the 3rd overall pick would be franchise malpractice. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge.
Rouse is the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Speaking of those New Orleans Saints, Luke Johnson covers them for The Advocate, and Times Picayune joins us every Thursday. Bumped him back a little bit because we got baseball early and wanted to talk a little basketball, and this works out well. So, Luke, appreciate you joining us at a little bit of a different time. How are you, sir?
Hey, man, believe it or not, I don't have a whole lot going on in my life right now, so this works out well.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about? Is there anything going on?
Well, I think there might be a coaching staff we could talk about, maybe the Combine, which I'm going to be at next week, finally get out of my house. I'm sure my wife will be happy about that. Yeah, I think we got some stuff to talk about, man. Let's get after it.
Let's kick around that offensive staff. Dennis Allen spoke about it yesterday on the NFL Network, talking about how they've got some youth to go with Clint Kubiak, but they've also got some experienced veterans that they've brought in on that staff. What do you make of the blend of the offensive staff?
Yeah, I mean, I really like it. I think it's smart. He's brought in some guys who have a ton of experience in Rick Dennison and John Benton. Guys, we're talking about like 2-3 decades of experience with those coaches, and they are specialists both on the offensive line, which I think the Saints need a lot of help there. So you have that blend along with a couple of guys who are in their 30s. In Andrew Janocko and Clint Kubiak. I just think that it's the kind of mix that you want in your coaching staff. You got ideas from all different kind of walks of life, all different kinds of experience levels. Guys you can tap into when they were coaching in the 90s, and guys who are in elementary school in the 90s. I think it's a good mix.
So Dennis Allen said yesterday on that show that they started to use play action a little bit more late in the season and had some success. And we know, based on all the studies that a lot of folks like you do watching film, that they were among the bottom of the NFL in terms of pre-snap motions and shifts and whatnot. Like, what were they doing in September and October, and how different should this look?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to look a lot different. Look, it's going to look a lot different if you're very, very keen on what the Saints have been doing, right? And you've been following them very closely. You know that they don't they're often a pretty static offense at the line of scrimmage, and they've been kind of doing their whole thing out of just mixing up personnel groupings. Whereas this offense is going to be, what we're assuming is going to look a lot more like the Kyle Shanahan offense. It's going to feature a lot of window dressing before the plays. It's going to feature a lot of crossers. It's going to let guys get the ball in space and run after the catch. That's just not what the Saints offense has been. Oddly enough, the running game is very similar. They both use like the wide zone running game, but the way they do it is different. The packages they run the running game out of are different. So, I just think that like the Saints offense as a system wasn't broken, but when you don't have Sean Payton calling the plays, it's different. And I think it just makes a lot of sense for them to be like, what's working in the NFL right now, where it doesn't necessarily matter whether you have Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay running it. We're seeing the successes from the guys who are branched out from the trees, whether it's Bobby Slowick or Kevin O'Connell or Matt LaFleur, Mike McDaniel. I mean, like, we're talking about top 10 offenses around the league where you don't have to have the genius play caller in order for it to run at the high level. So I think the whole thing where they were immediately targeting that style of offense was just really smart on their part. Get out of the way and let Kubiak kind of run the show on the offense.
As far as the guys that the Saints had on their team in the 2023 season that are now free agents, who would be the priority, maybe one or two, of guys that they really need to work on bringing back?
Are we talking the team-wide or just the offense?
Team-wide.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be a bad idea to try to bring Andres Pete back on a very team-friendly deal if you can get it. He was fine last year. He played. He was their best tackle, which is not saying a whole lot, but it was good enough. But I think there's a second part to it where if you let him walk and he goes and signs with another team, you've got $13.5 million in dead money to deal with. So I would try to negotiate a deal with him, a team-friendly deal that can bring him back and not have to have that big hit. I really like what Isaac Yiadom did last year. He's kind of like a lower tier free agent. Somebody who might be commanding, I don't know, $4 or $5 million a year, something like that. But I think it's worth it. Just considering what we've seen from the cornerbacks in this defense. I mean, you have to cycle a lot of those guys in and out of there. It's a position where you need to have as much depth as you can, and I think he not only offers you some ability on the outside as a corner, but he's a really good special teams player. I mean, I think I'd like to see them try to retain him as well.
Those are the exact two names I came up with when I did this exercise last week, and I'm curious your thoughts. If the Saints ran out there, and you can see where this is going, with a cornerback group that was Alontae Taylor, Paulson Adebo, and Isaac Yiadom as kind of your starters. Now, obviously, that leaves that big hole, but that may be something you can get assets for if you were to deal Lattimore. How would you feel about that talent level any given Sunday?
Any given Sunday, I'd feel okay with it, but you'd need a lot more depth.
Yeah.
You need somebody there in case Yiadom can't reproduce what he did last year, which is easily his best season as a professional. And you need somebody in case Alontae Taylor or Paulson Adebo gets hurt. I mean, it's just it's just been the reality for this team the last couple of years is they've had to cycle a lot of guys in and out. So I feel good about it from just that's what we have standpoint as a starting point. But if they were to trade Marshawn Lattimore, they'd have to beef up the secondary, probably in the draft.
That leads us to the Combine where you're headed next week up in Indy. I'm not going to ask you to target a player because that's ridiculous, but is there a position group that you think the Saints will have a more keen interest in this time around?
I think they've got to really zero in on offensive tackles and pass rushers. I think there are a lot of options that are going to be available at 14. Just when you consider what the top of the draft is looking like it's going to shape up like, we're talking about at least 3 quarterbacks going in the top 10, probably at least 2 more receivers going in the top 10. So that's five players. So that leaves 9 picks for all the other positions. And I think that could push a really good tackle or a really good edge rusher to the Saints at 14. There's a lot of guys I really like and guys who kind of fit what the Saints like. I think Jared Verse is like an obvious Saints kind of player. really productive, long, explosive, powerful. I think Dallas Turner is a really interesting option if they really decide to kind of lean into the situational edge rusher, which they have not done in their history. He's a little bit lighter than their typical guy, but like obviously super productive, very good athlete. And then a tackle, I just think there's some really interesting guys that kind of fit their type of prototype. J.C. Latham, the Alabama offensive tackle. Amarius Mims is a guy from Georgia who didn't play like a ton of football, but like he's massive and he's a super athlete. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce the Penn State offensive tackle.
Yeah,
but
don't.
If he's there 14. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, those are the two groups where I feel like there could be a lot of really good players there, and those are their two most obvious positions of need right now. So I think that's where I'm going to zero in.
Luke Johnson joins us every Thursday covering the black and gold. Appreciate you checking in. Safe travels up to Indy, all right?
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Luke Johnson covers the Saints for The Advocate and the Times-Picayune, always with us on Thursdays. We'll chat with him from up in Indy coming up next week. And I wonder if Luke will get a shrimp cocktail. I'll ask him next week. Is that just reserved for the owners and the bigwigs and the GMs that go to St. Elmo's, or do the lowly local media folk get to chime in? It's just the billionaires, or do we get a chance to get some shrimp cocktails? I'll have to ask Luke next week in Indy. I've never been to Indianapolis. Not necessarily in a huge hurry to go there. Isn't that where LSU was in the Final Four?
It was.
Yeah, that's where LSU was in the Final Four. I did not go to that. I was playing high school baseball. I missed most of the Texas game because I was playing and most of the Duke game too, playing a high school baseball tournament. But did not go to Indy that year and have never been. But Luke will be there next week, and we'll chat with him about all things Saints considered. All right, we're moving right along here in hour number 2 of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Rouse's on our Thursday shows. When we come back, let's talk NCAA tournament. Does LSU have any chance to get in? I'll let you know what I think. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions. Find them online, avssla.com. They do whole home audio, television installation, video surveillance. They do it all at Audio Video Security Solutions. Like if you want a new television, want to beef up your home entertainment situation, just give our guys at Audio Video Security Solutions a call. Mitchell Fisher's number right here. It's in the 225 area code. It's 439-7920. 439-7920. That's Mitchell's cell phone number. He's the owner of the company. You'll get him. They can get you from start to finish with your new home entertainment system. They'll supply the TV. They'll supply the speakers and the wiring. They'll come in. They'll install it. Brand spanking new home entertainment system at the drop of a hat over at Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out at avssla.com, and I always invite you, check out their Instagram. A bunch of great stuff there as well, avss_BR. That's our friends at Audio Video Security Solutions.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045espn.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. We're recapping LSU, Kentucky, getting you set for the women's home game against Auburn, and a little LSU baseball out at the box. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This February, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust are here to offer you a holiday rebate to the tune of $1,000 in cash to help out. Signing up is as simple as heading to 1045ESPN.com. It's our annual holiday rebate gift to you from Citizens Bank and Trust and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Nick Saban had some things to say about the state of college football. We'll get to that coming up here in 15 minutes. Thanks to Luke Johnson for checking us out here at a different time, usually at the first hour on Thursdays. But we wanted to talk a little baseball and basketball in the first hour, so we bumped Luke back a bit for some Saints talk. If you missed our Saints talk with Luke, you can always find it at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Appreciate you all for checking us out there. LSU got a really nice win last night in the PMAC against Kentucky, following up a really nice win on the road against South Carolina. So the question now is being posed, well, can they get in the tournament? I got 2 texts about that last night. And my answer, without any data in front of me, was no. I don't think they can get in the tournament. But it's worth discussing.
Technically, they can get in the tournament, huh?
You win out, sure.
They just have to win the SEC tournament.
We were talking about at-large berths. I think everybody's aware if they go to the SEC tournament and win out that they will of course be in. But I figured, okay, well, I'll just do the exercise. Right now, you're looking at an LSU team with a net of 85. They only bumped up 3 spots with a win over Kentucky last night. So not a lot of upward mobility there. And you're all very well aware of how the schedule shakes out. And they won 2 of them. But you know that now comes the 5 games against very much lesser opponents, not exactly resume opponents. You do have a quad 2 game coming up on Saturday. Mississippi State's net is 41 currently. Your home games from 31 to 75 are quad 2, so that's a quad 2 game. But a home game against number 95 Georgia is a quad 3 game. A road game at number 120 Arkansas is a quad 2 game. A road game at 232 Vandy is a quad 3 game. As I write these down here. And then Missouri's 147, you get that at home. So that is a quad 3 game. So you've got 2 quad 2s and 3 quad 3s left. You do not have a quad 1 opportunity in front of you anymore. So right now, as you look at LSU's resume, you're looking at a team that is very much on the outside, and I guess you could say looking in. They're 85th in the net. You're looking at quad 1. LSU has 4 quad 1 wins. They're 4-7, which is pretty good for a bubble team, but 2 wins against quad 2. You're 1-1 against quad 3, and then you're 7-1. That Nichols loss hanging on to you like a bit of an albatross there in quad 4. They're not going to be able, even if you ran the table and beat Mississippi State and Georgia at home, at Arkansas, at Vanderbilt, and Missouri, even if you did run the table there, you're not going to see that net bump much inside. I would guess 70. I mean, that's probably what you're looking at. That would move you up 15 spots. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know that it would go that far. So that's a bad net number for a bubble team, quite frankly. You didn't do anything in the non-conference of note outside of the win over a decent Wake Forest team. You got smoked by Syracuse, smoked by Texas, lost a home game to Kansas State, and then you got that Nichols loss, which doesn't look very good. Dayton would have been a pretty good win, but you let that one slip away. So, it's just difficult for me to look at this and find the way to an at-large berth. The bubble is weak. I made a big deal last year about a Mississippi State team that was 8-10 in league play that got to Dayton to the play-in. But they did have some wins in the non-conference that were pretty impressive to prop them up and improve that net. LSU's best-case scenario is to win the last 5. That would put LSU at 19-12. And then 11-7 in league play, which on its face looks pretty good, but the net is awful. You would boast a quality win at South Carolina and a quality win at home against Kentucky. That's really all your resume wins. And then as far as bad losses go, you still don't have one of those in conference play. I mean, your losses, although there are 7 of them, are reasonable. You lost to Alabama twice. You lost to Tennessee. You lost to Auburn. You lost to Florida. Those are the top of the league. You look towards the bottom of the league. You hadn't lost to Missouri. In this hypothetical, you won't. You hadn't lost to Vanderbilt. Hadn't lost to Arkansas. You did lose a game to Georgia, who's toward the bottom of the league. But that's a road game at Georgia. Is not a terrible loss. They're 13-13. It's just a lack of real substance. So if I try to get them to 21 wins, I'm trying to get as many wins you can get without winning the conference tournament. So if you win out, you're not going to play on the first night, obviously. And then you might get a double bye, depending on how things were to shake out with your 11 wins. And then you could only win 2 games. So you would get to 21 wins before you lose.
Those 2 wins conceivably would probably be quad. Maybe not as a neutral site, though.
Neutral
they probably
site,
would be quad.
Probably quad. In front of me here. What a neutral game against top 50 to 100. So if anybody in the top 50 would be Q1, theoretically, somebody like Mississippi State is in the top 50. So it's possible that you could get another Q1 win, but it's unlikely. So unfortunately, while I'm fired up that they went to South Carolina and won, and I'm fired up that they beat Kentucky last night, I think they're playing better. I talked about this a lot in the first hour. I feel like Matt McMahon is really doing a good job with this roster. Is it the type of roster you need to get to the Sweet 16? It's not. You've got to get a better roster. That is the name of the game in college basketball. You have to roster build. I would say recruiting, but it's really portal and recruiting. You've got to build that roster so you've got an NBA player or 2. I'm not asking LSU to have a roster that looks like UConn's. Like I'm not. I would love it. It'd be great. But you got to have pros. If you look back at the teams that LSU had that were routinely making the NCAA tournament with Will Wade, you had Naz Reid, you had Cam Thomas, you had Skylar Mays, who Wade didn't recruit, but he's an NBA player. You had Trendon Watford, who's an NBA guy. Tremont Waters played in the NBA briefly. Like, you've got to have guys who play in the league. Not all of them. You don't have to have 6 of them. Kentucky's got 6. I'm not asking you to have 6, but you've got to have 3 or 4, and that's the way, or 2 or 3, and that's the way to get this thing done. So that's the most important thing. But he's doing a good job with this team. They're improving. They're making plays late in the game. They're winning some games now, and they've already exceeded my expectations. I have very famously admitted to a comment I made off the air to Matthew Burney that I thought LSU was going to win 2 league games this year. That's what I thought at Christmas. And I've blown away that they've gotten to this point, and I think the chalk would suggest that they're probably going to win 3 of the last 5. I think you're going to beat Missouri at home. Even if you lose to Mississippi State at home, beat Georgia at home. They've lost 6 games in a row, these Georgia Bulldogs. And then you split Arkansas and Vandy on the road. I mean, I'm being pretty conservative there. That's 3 more wins to pile on this, and all of a sudden you're looking up at a 9-9 league team. Like, that is a quality job, and I don't want to diminish that at all. But it's hard for me to get that team into the tournament. It's just very difficult for me to look at the metrics and get them into the tournament. I think that some of the quad 4 games that you played early on are going to hurt you, and then the loss to Nichols hurts really bad. And I didn't think we were going to be having this discussion, but I think a lot of people probably don't even realize how LSU lost to Nichols. They were down 20. Surprise, surprise. They came back and took the lead with 3 minutes to go, and Nichols hit a running fadeaway 3 late in the game with like 3 seconds left to win. Like that, they threw in a prayer to win that game. We were talking about how fine razors are back when we were discussing this game with Kentucky, where now we've gone to talking about whether or not they can make the tournament. And what we could have been talking about was a 7-game losing streak if Jordan Wright misses 2 free throws or South Carolina hits that 3 at the end, or if Tyrell Ward doesn't make that shot last night. But that's how thin these things are, and that's the same case with the Nichols game back there at the beginning of the season. But the resume is just not very good from a tournament perspective. So it's there's 2 hands in this. One is nice job, really good coaching. Guys have bought in. They're playing hard. They're playing tough. They're winning some games. That's great. Then you have to start having are they going to make the NCAA tournament? I don't think so. So it's a bummer, but I don't believe that this resume is good enough. But maybe they can go to the SEC tournament and make some noise and have some fun. We'll just have to see. But everything starts, again, with a Mississippi State team that's going to come in here 18-8, 7-6 in league play, having won 3 in a row, I believe, and 41st in the net. That's a tournament team that's coming in here to the PMAC on Saturday, and I think they'll have a really good crowd for it at 7:30 on Saturday night. LSU baseball underway against Northern Illinois. I'll get you a score update from that one. You can, of course, listen to that game on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. And we got to talk about what Nick Saban had to say about the current state of college football. We'll get to that coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet is live in Louisiana. As the official sportsbook of ESPN, ESPN Bet's the only place to find daily exclusives and offers with your favorite ESPN personalities and shows. You can sign up today, and new users get $100 in bonus bets for making any single sportsbook bet. You can find all your favorite markets and bets, like in-game wagering, cross-sport parlays, teasers, and all the props you can handle. That's ESPN Bet. Download today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with the Bears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play. Looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-
On Friday's OTB, we recap a ton of Thursday night sports. Pelicans, LSU baseball, LSU softball, LSU women's basketball. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This weekend, we've got some college basketball and NBA action for you on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. On Saturday at 1 p.m., we've got Arizona at Washington. And then on Saturday in the NBA, we've got the Knicks at the Celtics. Should be a good Eastern Conference matchup there. And then at 12 on Sunday, the Sixers and the Bucks taking on in the NBA. And that is all going to be on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Northern Illinois takes a 1-0 lead out at the box against LSU. Gage jump on the mound for the Tigers. I'm told there were some wild pitches involved in some way, shape, or form. Can't watch the game pitch for pitch and do a radio show, but I can keep up with the score, and it's 1-0 as they play on in the bottom of the second inning. Big Jared Jones digging in against Northern Illinois' left-handed starting pitcher. Nick Saban had a few things to say back on, well, it was on Wednesday. It was yesterday. Talking to Chris Lowe and the folks over at ESPN. And it was regarding the state of college football, which is a very hot button topic right now because it's changed so much in the last decade. You know how it's changed. It's the transfer portal, it's NIL, it's the whole deal. And it's conference realignment as well. And there are some of these things that Nick Saban is a little bit uncomfortable with. And he gave some quotes. I'll give you my thoughts on them. But one of the quotes directly from Nick Saban here is, "If my voice can bring about some meaningful change, I want to help in any way I can. I love the players and I love college football. What we have now is not college football as we know it. You hear somebody use the word student athlete, that doesn't exist." I want to say this before I get into kind of my thoughts on it. The two loudest voices in all of college football over the last 5 years are Greg Sankey and Nick Saban. They have different roles, obviously, but there is no one in the sport whose words mean more than Nick Saban's. Not Kirby Smart's, not Dabo Swinney's, not previously Jim Harbaugh's, not even really Greg Sankey's. Nick Saban is thought of as the authority in the sport, like it or not, but that's the way it sounds. And he doesn't always get his way, but he always has something to say. And now I feel like, because he's not tied to a specific team, program, school, although he still has an office in Tuscaloosa, he can speak a little bit more freely because he doesn't have to cater to his best interest, which is what he had to do back at Alabama. He can just say what he thinks. And so he continued on in talking with Chris Lowe to say, I'm not really looking for a job. This was in a question in regards to being the college football commissioner. But I do know that I'd like to impact college football the best way I can, whether that's being a spokesperson or anything else. Listen, I'm for the players. It's not that I'm not for the players. I want to see the players have a great quality of life and be able to create value for themselves. But we've gone to nobody talking about education, nobody talking about creating value for their future, to talking only about how much money I can make while I'm in college. I think the consequence of that could come down the road where some of these guys are 28 and 29 years old. Maybe they didn't prepare themselves for when they can't play football anymore, which is what you should do when you're in college. This is a complicated notion. On its face, yes, absolutely, young people in college should be carving out a path for their life. Some people, that's being an accountant. Some people, that's being an attorney. Some people, that's being a professional athlete. Very few of them, but for some people. And you ought to create the beginning of that path in college. Now, I don't know how much different these conversations Nick Saban is having with student athletes are today as opposed to what they were in 2002 when he was at LSU. I don't know. At that point, was it always we're going to create value for you and move you forward, and now it's none of that? Were some of the players worried about money back in 2002 when they were getting recruited? I know they are now. Were they then? How much of that conversation is brought up directly to the head coach? I don't know. It certainly would have been a violation then, violation now. But how often does it happen? I don't know. I've never been in the room. There has always been an element of college athletes across sports, whether it's football, basketball, whatever, that thought, I'm just here until I can go get rich in the league. So I don't think that factor's new at all. But when he says this, it makes me believe, and again, I don't have any firsthand knowledge of this, but I'm listening to someone who does. It appears these conversations are way more prevalent in terms of talking about money than they were previously. If it hadn't changed that much, then I don't think Nick would bring it up. So again, to be clear, I think there were people in 2000 and 1994 and 1984 and 1974 that were in the recruiting process looking for cash. I can go to SMU and figure that out. So that part is not new in recruiting. There has always been people that have been asking for money. This quote tells me there are now more people asking about money, and it's a far more common conversation than it ever was. And it's complicated. I hear a lot of people. I did a radio spot in New Orleans 2 weeks ago with a host down there who said, I hate NIL and the transfer portal. I think it's terrible. And there are a lot of people that think that way. And there are a lot of people that are like Jay Billis and that are like our afternoon host, Matt Moscona, who say, I'm pro-student athlete. Coaches are leaving and getting rich. Players can leave and they can get rich. Like, I'm fine with that. There are two extremes there. I'm probably somewhere in the middle. That's not the best radio bit to not have a firm stance, but I'm not going to fake it. That's how I feel. I think there are student athletes that have created a lot of value and should be compensated for that. Angel Reese has 2 million followers on Instagram because of her hard work and success in collegiate basketball and her personality. And we have a company in Baton Rouge that advertises on our airwaves with Angel Reese. I think that's fine. I think it draws eyeballs. I think it draws attention. I think it's a positive for Angel Reese and for the local business. They sponsor our studios, Mercedes-Benz Baton Rouge. Y'all listen to the spots. Why is that a bad thing? I don't think it is. You're telling me that Dylan Cruz shouldn't be able to capitalize on giving some hitting lessons or a camp in town after that run? I would suggest, yeah. You don't think Jaden Daniels, who wins the Heisman Trophy, shouldn't be compensated for grabbing a box of chicken? Like, that to me is a good thing. But I think young people, specifically 17-year-olds, who are straight up looking for cash and nothing else, can make some bad decisions. And I can hear out of the other side of my ear the pro-student athlete people saying, well, that's not your problem. But it creates an environment that is just really, really difficult. And that's what I struggle with. I struggle with collegiate athletics and teams trying to build a program and sustain success without any assurances who's going to be there. In the professional ranks where a lot of money's involved, folks are under contract. They're not here. It's just that it's still a little bit tough for me to come to grips with that. I'll be upfront about it. Like, it is difficult. But again, I see the value in it too. And I see the value in some people transferring. I went through that earlier this week with Paul Skeens. How are you going to argue that he should not be able to transfer? Look what that created for him. You're going to make him sit out a year? I don't know if that's a great solution. But this immediate demanding of money in the recruiting circles is the one I struggle the most with. And I don't think you can change the rules because the law doesn't allow for you to change the rules. The law says if you create value for yourself, you can capitalize on that financially. And if you outlaw that, as the NCAA did for decades, you're in violation of antitrust laws. We know this. We've already gone through this song and dance. You can't stop that. But my question is, and what could bring it to it could slow it down, is what the market says. Does the market suggest these boosters year after year after year after year have to keep coming up with cash for 17 and 8-year-olds, some of which can't play as well as we thought they would, and some of which are transferring out? Do they keep unloading the treasure chest on these kids? That I don't know. Doesn't appear I'm ever going to be in a situation to make that type of decision, so I don't know the answer. But the rules, I don't think, are going to fix it. The market could. And so these conversations that Nick Saban is saying happen far more often than they used to are going to slow down because these kids are going to walk around with their hand out and everybody's going to go, no, you hadn't done squat. Come earn it. You can make plenty of money here. You got to earn it. Maybe that day is 2 years from now. Maybe it's 15 years from now. Maybe it doesn't happen. But when they opened the floodgates here, the boosters were running up there with checks. And to an extent, they still are. Does that slow down because the return of investment is so poor on a grand scale? Athlete to athlete, I mean, Fiori's got to be thrilled with Livy Dunn. She's got millions and millions of followers. She puts an Instagram post up. I bet their sales spike. They're thrilled about that. But if these boosters keep paying 17-year-old 4-stars that show up and can't play, well, when do you slow down? Nick doesn't have a solution in here. He gives another quote, but what we have right now is not name, image, and likeness. A collective has nothing to do with name, image, and likeness. People can give money to the university again, get a tax deduction for doing it. University in some way can maybe share, whether it's share the revenue, buying marketing rights, which is a possibility. You can buy somebody's marketing rights as an institution. I don't want to say a salary cap because that sounds like it's a professional deal. But to find a way for schools to invest the same amount of money in players, just like everybody can invest the same amount in a scholarship, that becomes part of the scholarship. I don't know what that solves or what it doesn't. But I'll just say this. Like, I don't have any problem saying this. I'm struggling with the entire thing in terms of what my opinion is on it. There are so many people who have planted their flag on the extreme sides, and I can just see both of them, and I don't know where the future goes. I know that it does not go to a model where college student athletes cannot earn a cent. It doesn't go to that. You can limit the transfer portal. You could put that rule back in. That's not against the law. Telling a student athlete they can't make money is against the law. So you can tweak that, but you can't stop it. You can stop the transfer thing. I tend to think that's probably not going to happen. But Saban's going to keep talking, and I think people are going to listen because he's been the most powerful voice in this sport for 20 years. I don't know how much of it comes up on game day. I don't know what his role is on ESPN outside of the 3-hour show on Saturday mornings, but I'm curious to see what he continues to do. My biggest takeaway from this story on ESPN.com is the kids in high school are walking around with their hands out far more than they ever have. And my gut tells me that the market's going to have to slow them down. Just my thoughts on the situation. ESPN.com is where you can find that entire article. It is titled, Nick Saban Wants to Be a Voice for Change in College Football. The piece is by Chris Lowe. All right, we'll get you another score update from Alex Box Stadium. When we come back, we'll play some Take It or Leave It and get on down the road. You're listening to a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. That is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning, remodeling bathrooms or closets. If you woke up this morning, closet's too small, can't find the clothes you're looking for, there's shoes everywhere, trying to cram a suitcase in there, it's dark, don't do that. Get a custom closet. David Duvall and his team are happy to help you with that. The process is easy. Starts with that free consultation. You can get it at onebathandclosets.com. They'll hand you a questionnaire, say, hey, what do you have? How many pairs of shoes you got? How many suits? How much room do you have? What do you like? What do you want? What might work for you? And once they get that information, they'll customize a closet exactly to your specifications. It could totally change your morning routine with that brand new closet. And I can promise you this is going to be super convenient for you. It's going to be super efficient for you. And it's also going to be something that looks beautiful because all of David Duvall's work does. It's One Bath and Closets. Check out that website, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. We're recapping LSU, Kentucky, getting you set for the women's home game against Auburn, and a little LSU baseball out at the box. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Appreciate the good folks over at Rouse's. Rouse's, of course, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Download the Rouse's app. Do your shopping right there at the touch of your phone. So easy. Your personal shop will go in there, get you all fixed up. You set that pickup time, pull up in front of the store, they'll hand it to you. As long as you spend $35, you don't spend another cent. Reminder, we got a new location on Florida Boulevard in North Baton Rouge. We were there a couple of weeks ago for the grand opening. It is a gorgeous grocery store. Great place to do some shopping. Also got an awesome hot bar in there as well if you want to stop in for lunch. I mentioned I went to the Rouse's on Burbank and Lee for lunch a couple of weeks ago and got the salad, which is delicious, but not as much fun as like fried chicken, mac and cheese, some crawfish pasta, which they have in there from time to time. Looking for something healthy? You can do that at Rouse's. You're looking for something awesome? You can do that at Rouse's as well. If you're doing your weekend grocery shopping coming up today or tomorrow, get on by a Rouse's location. They bring you our Thursday shows each and every week. Tigers have taken a 4-1 lead out at the box to play on in the top of the third inning against Northern Illinois. Stony Brook and LSU tomorrow. It'll be a 2 o'clock first pitch over at Alec Box Stadium. All right, Beck, take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. We've gotten a little bit more news on the EA Sports college football game with them announcing that every single team in the FBS will be in the game. There will be no coaches, but players can opt in if they want to get $600 and a free copy of the game. So
nice.
We'll see if we manage to get almost all the players, but expect that a few will be out.
Who would opt out of that?
Yeah, I know. It's free money, and you get a free copy of the game too. So we'll see how that goes. But Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler have been officially announced as the commentary crew for the EA Sports game coming out this summer. I don't know why I said it again. I wrote it down. Like I said, I am literally Ron Burgundy. I read the teleprompter. Fowler and Herbstreit on the call for your dynasties. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Those two, that voice reminds me of 2 LSU calls. It reminds me of Jamar Chase down the sideline for the first touchdown of the national championship game. And it reminds me of Jaden Daniels rolling out and hitting Mason Taylor to beat Alabama. So that's good vibes. I like that a lot. So that'll work. You remember back in the day in the 90s when you would play an NBA game that you couldn't play with Michael Jordan? It would just say the Bulls would have like Pippen and Horace Grant and Steve Kerr, and then it would just say player.
Player, yeah.
That could be some of these guys, I guess, if they don't opt in. But, hey, take the $600. Why not?
Easily, yeah, for sure. All right, moving on here. You're getting used to these shows during baseball games. Take it or leave it.
I will leave that. I really don't like it. The fact that I realize I'm deep into the throes of a Nick Saban college football discussion, and then that's over and we go to break, and I realize I've probably missed an inning, and I got to check out and see what happens. I don't like that. I've got the game up right now, so I'm not missing much. They're doing a pitching visit, but it's good to see Gage Jump pitch into the third inning. He got an out in the third, and now they're going to take him out and go to Ackenhausen. But no, I do not like these games during my show, and I feel even worse for Musa, who has to produce and pay attention and push a bunch of buttons while he's trying to watch during AFR. It's not great, but it is what it is. They're winning 4-1. That's good.
Speaking of the game, Michael Braswell just hit a 2-run homer, getting him to 2 extra base hits so far this season. You feel good about your prediction. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. That's 2. I need him to get to 24. I was told Braswell needed to be benched. Is that right?
I don't think so. I mean, everyone's talking about that, and also, he's not good at shortstop. He can't hit. All that.
Milam's a superstar.
Yep.
It's just I don't mean to be condescending. I always get a little bit of a chuckle out of the reaction to 4 baseball games, as if you've found everything you need to know in 4 baseball games, when we know that the sample tells us that you see things on opening day that are comical in June, just absolutely comical. So it's just a couple of games. I think Braswell's going to be just fine. I don't expect a ton of power from him, but Northern Illinois ERA is north of 10 this season, so I'm sure somebody hung a pitch and he put a charge into it. We like to see that. So good for Michael Braswell. He and Kling were kind of the 2 guys that didn't get rolling offensively in the first week. Hopefully there's some good stuff coming for those 2 guys.
Also a homer for Kling in this game.
That's right. You told me that. So 2 guys that didn't click last weekend already homered today. It'll be all right.
All right, last one here. Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce said his team will have Mahomes rules for Chiefs game, reminiscent of Jordan rules, if you will. Roughing up Mahomes. Take it or leave it.
So for those who are a little younger, kind of my age, and don't know what the Jordan rules are, the Pistons put together the Jordan rules to deal with Michael Jordan early in his career, the bad boy Pistons. And they had like 5 or 6 or 8, whatever rules were. They make him go left, always hit him when he's coming across the lane, all this kind of stuff to really rough up Jordan and get him off his game. And they did beat the Bulls in that series. And so the thought process here is Antonio Pierce wants the Raiders to get after Patrick Mahomes a little bit, maybe more so than any other quarterback. I did hear this on Greeny earlier today. Your guess, Patrick Mahomes has played 35 AFC West games. What do you think his record is? 35 games.
I would say 32-3.
He's 30-5, which when you consider like NFL games in the division, everybody knows all of your plays. He has feasted on those 3 teams over the years. 30-5 is ridiculous. As far as the Mahomes rules goes, I don't need you doing anything after the play that would compromise Patrick Mahomes. You want to send more blitzes and get whatever, but like hitting him after the whistle and all that kind of stuff, like that's a quick trip to the commissioner's office.
Yeah, and I don't think, I can't imagine that's what he means by that, because even if you are going to do that, why would you say that on record? That doesn't make any sense. So I would assume that he just means that they're going to try to be more aggressive in terms of rushing the passer.
The fastest way to get in the commissioner's bad graces is to probably take out the face of the league.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't do that.
That's probably the quickest way to $1 million fine for the organization and a 2-year ban from coaching.
Yeah,
so
not smart.
Ask Sean Payton about how some of that stuff goes, and that wasn't Patrick Mahomes. So I don't think that's a great idea by Antonio Pierce. Gage Jump goes 2 1/3 innings. I didn't get a pitch count on him. Did allow the 1 run. They got a single, and Jay Johnson has gone to Nate Ackenhausen in this game. So a little more extended outing from Gage Jump. I'll talk a little bit more about that on tomorrow's show, and we'll get you ready for LSU and Mississippi State as well from the PMAC on tomorrow's show. Looking forward to a Friday show presented by Corks. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's, as we said. If you missed any of the show, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. All our shows are archived there each and every day in their entirety. It's Hunt Palmer Show. It's Off the Bench. It's Live at Lunch. It's AFR. All of them there every single day. Also, wherever you find your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, all your sound always right there. We appreciate if you subscribe to Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints. Those are our YouTube channels. You can find all our content right there. Casey does a great job of cutting those segments up and getting them right there to those channels. Open up the show with Chris Blair from the box. He was talking a little baseball, but mainly LSU and Kentucky. I gave my thoughts on Tigers and Cats last night. Fun night in the PMAC. Got you ready for this baseball game. That's a little dated by now. But Joe Healy stopped by from Jacksonville talking SEC baseball in the first hour. Luke Johnson on the Saints. And then my thoughts on LSU and whether or not they can make the NCAA tournament. Go check that out on demand. That's it for us here on this Thursday. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further Review. Have a wonderful Thursday evening. We're back tomorrow, same time and same place. You're listening to Capital City's leader in sports talk. That, of course, is 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway.